Welcome back to another episode of Whiskey Riff Raff. I'm Shelby.
My name's Quinn, and we're excited for this episode. This is a cool one that we got to talk to Colby Acuff, which you've known him. We get into that a little bit, but you've known him for a while, right?
Yeah, we were like Instagram friends first, just because I was working at Whiskey Riff and liked his music like right when he came out. So then I had an early connection, and then I just keep running into him everywhere I go.
He's a good social media follow. I follow him on all the platforms and things like that. Puts out some good little thoughts and tidbits here and there. So.
Especially on Twitter.
Yes.
I love when artists are interactive on Twitter. I feel like it just makes it so much more interesting.
But yeah, this is an interview that we've been looking forward to for a while. But obviously, with these new intros, we're going to get into the interview here in just a bit. But we wanted to first talk a little bit, not necessarily about us, but some things that are going on with Whiskey Riff. And I'm a writer, so I actually had a part in some of these stories that we were going to talk about. I know that's one of the things we're doing is a little bit of a recap, right?
Yeah, I want to go over some of the top stories, and people under every single Instagram, Facebook post, doesn't matter what the article is, people will comment, who cares? Like that is just like a number one comment under not even just like for Whiskey Riff, for like anything, is people are like, who cares? But it's just like these top stories are based on numbers, on what people read, interacted with the most. So
what people might care about.
Like, and some of this is a bit controversial. One thing that people say they don't care about, although a lot of people do care about, is Riley Green and Megan Maroney.
Yes.
Rumored to be dating.
It's been cool to see like I'm envisioning people in their basement with the like red lines and the tacks, trying to place things and here and there and figure out where it all connects, which we've done a little bit of that, I think, covering some of the stories.
Which is crazy because like about a year ago, Megan Maroney had like a secret man, and like you could only see the side profile, and everyone was like, it's Riley Green. So we had an article come out like about a year ago, like saying maybe it is that.
You're saying we called it.
We called it a year ago. Not me. Mary Claire specifically
Yes.
called it. One of our writers called it. But now it's coming full circle, and it seems to be true. We're not 100% certain, but there are some good
I saw that one of the main pieces of evidence is that someone's dog follows another person. Is that true?
Yeah.
Am I making that up? Or?
Riley Green's dog is somewhat a public figure now, and he has been commenting on Megan Maroney's posts.
That's all we need to see, I think.
Yeah, and also she was seen wearing his cowboy hat, maybe. Also, I've heard from some semi-reliable sources in my life that it is true. So
Gotcha.
I'm here for it. They're both very attractive people. So it makes sense.
I'm hearing that Whiskey Riff reported it first.
Yes.
And that we're still sticking with our sources and saying that this is true. So
yes, definitely.
That's interesting. Okay. Well, any other thoughts on the romance? Something that you wouldn't mind to see, I guess, right?
No. I mean, I feel like public dating relationships can be very messy, so I hope that's not the case, because they both, especially Megan Maroney is like known for writing about her relationships and her bad relationships. So I wonder how this will end, or maybe
it flourishes.
Yeah, maybe
it works out fine. If it doesn't, maybe there's a
great album out
a breakup record out there.
Yeah.
And speaking of breakup records, someone who has perfected that art is none other than Taylor Swift. I know that mentioning Taylor Swift can be a little controversial in the country music scene, right? I don't feel anything necessarily, no hatred towards Taylor Swift. So I don't want the Swifties to turn on us by any means. Would you consider yourself a Swiftie?
I very much love Taylor Swift's music. However, her fan base makes it hard.
Be careful.
Makes it hard to like her.
Okay.
Like they are very divisive and very passionate, which I love her music. I've loved her music from the beginning, and I still do. Went to the Eras tour. However, they're passionate and
they are.
Have very strong opinions.
That's a good way to describe them, the Swifties. And I covered something that happened, I guess earlier this week, where Morgan Wallen announced his "I'm the Problem" tour, and my mind immediately went to Taylor Swift's song. And I'm saying that as someone who is just like aware of Taylor Swift, potentially listens to some of her songs, but I'm not queuing her up by any means, right? But I even immediately thought, "I'm the Problem" tour, and then I thought of the Anti-Hero. It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me.
Yeah.
Now, if I butchered that, I apologize. But so I was like, there's got to be Swifties that are upset about this. Sure enough, there were.
Yeah. And I mean, Morgan Wallen has had that like teaser of that song, like,
Hmm.
I guess I'm the problem for, I mean, probably months, I'd
I
guess.
think I think it was January of 2024 because the song that he put out was "I Guess,"
Yeah.
and then "I'm the Problem" is another one of the lyrics in it. I think that song is going to be a part of his
New,
forthcoming album that will
hmm
be of the same name, I believe. So it's not anything new, but it seemed like the announcement of the tour only made the Swifties realize, hey, whoa, whoa, whoa. Now, does Taylor Swift own the rights to the phrase "I'm the problem"?
Definitely not.
No, she does not.
Definitely not. And I feel like that's something we probably should ask a songwriter, especially like we just interviewed Colby Acuff
Hmm.
about how hard it is to like be 100% original as well. It's
Right.
like you can accidentally like copy people all the time. I've heard like a lot of artists talk about, they won't even realize where their inspiration comes from sometimes and they'll accidentally copy people.
Yeah, only when like they show it to someone else, they're like, "Hey, this sounds a lot like this."
Yes.
Yeah.
But I feel like in this case, the two are so far apart
Hmm.
that it's just ridiculous. And that's why the Swifties get a bad rap.
Yeah, I don't think Morgan Wallen was sitting around thinking, "Man, how could I upset one of the most passionate, as you said, you described them earlier, most passionate, loyal fan bases in all of music." I don't
Yeah.
think it was that kind of situation. So, but lo and behold, it didn't matter. The Swifties got a little bit upset about it. But like,
Yeah.
I'm not as brave as you. I'm not going to sit here and even call them any names and label them because I've not that I've had crossings with Swifties in the past, but long story short,
Yeah.
I once worked with someone who I believe quit their job because they found out I liked John Mayer and they liked Taylor Swift.
That's actually
I don't want
insane.
to get into the whole story.
That's actually insane.
That's just
But
a
again, that furthers the point of why Swifties
and it,
get a
and
bad rap.
he or she may or may not have, but the timing of them finding out that I was listening to John Mayer and them telling me that they like Taylor Swift and them putting their 2 weeks in shortly after is suspicious, to say the least.
Very interesting.
Yes.
I do have to ask, do you have any concerts coming up on your list, on your radar?
That's a good question. I have looked into some concerts that are at the Pinnacle,
Mm-hmm.
the new music venue that's supposed to be opening up. Hopefully, I mean, fingers crossed, because it
Yes.
looks like it's still an active construction site. But Casey Musgraves is, I think, one of the first artists that's going to be there. I would not mind to see Casey Musgraves. But past that, I haven't. Now's the time of the year where I really do start to look and see
What's going on?
what's going to happen, who's playing where. So undoubtedly, I will be attending some concerts, but I don't have anything locked in at the moment. But what
Okay.
about you?
The first, I think three I have like in the next month or so are Willow Avalon at Exit In next Friday. Have you
Hmm.
heard of her?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm interested to see her live
Hmm.
because I hear she's fantastic and I love everything she does on socials.
Yeah.
So that'll be cool to see. I'm going to Fort Worth to see Alan Jackson
Oh,
and
I'm so
Zach Top
jealous.
and Megan Maroney are opening up.
No
So
kidding.
it's going to be a great
Zach Top
show.
and Alan Jackson are in the same room
I,
together.
right?
That'll be
I
crazy.
can't wait till there's a picture of them side by
Yeah.
side. And then third
That's a
one,
great show. That's a great
yeah.
lineup. Yeah.
The third one actually is at the Pinnacle and it's Turnpike.
Turnpike, yeah.
Turnpike. So I think I'm gonna go to those. Might be my first three. I always get like last minute invites to some that I might just squeeze in, but those are mine planned.
And what's a song that you've been listening to a lot? Is it anything leading up to those concerts or?
I always kind of have Alan Jackson on repeat,
Hmm.
but I'm like, let me look and see like what I've been playing a lot. Actually, I was just in Mexico and I've been playing a lot of Flatland's new Spanish song. It's kind of sad, but it has like a very like it's not the words are sad. The song's about like the last words, but the melody's a little bit
Hmm.
happier. So I've been listening to that a lot.
I've been listening to a lot of Red Clay Strays.
Of
So
course.
I really like them, and the song that I keep going back to is "Want to Be Loved."
Okay. Yeah.
Just a great song.
Yeah. Class. It's like not. I mean, not a classic because it's been around that long.
Yeah,
But like
feels like
hard
it
to.
should be a classic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hard to argue with that one.
and as far as like the spotlight on Brandon Coleman's vocals, I feel like that's just one of the best Red Clay Stray songs that are out right now. So
Yeah.
shout out to them.
One more question
Sure.
is Ty Myers just dropped a new album. Have you listened to him much?
I have not.
Okay, so he's only 17 and
Oh wow.
girls on TikTok like would die for this I want to say
Okay.
man, but he's 17, so he's
Right.
like not a man.
They
But I
need to
met
be
him.
careful, yeah.
I've met him, and he's just like a sweet, nice,
Mhm.
normal guy, and his music is just blowing up. So I was intrigued to see if you had any thoughts, but you have to give him a listen.
I don't have any Ty Myers thoughts, but I can promise you that I will next time we
Okay.
record the podcast. So ask me again, and I
Next
will
time.
have some thoughts. Yeah.
All right, sounds good. Well, with that, let's introduce Colby Acuff on this episode of Whiskey Riff Raff. Long history to go over. We have a lot to dive into, so I'm excited.
I'm happy to be here. Very happy.
Quinn, you probably didn't see it, but I made a TikTok while I was getting ready for today about kind of there's a lot of things that me and Colby have in common, and over the last couple years have kind of talked about and ran into each other a lot. So back in 2021, I heard his song "If I Were the Devil," and I got him on the podcast with Stephen West,
Yep.
like 2022,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and then kind of sent you some merch.
That day that we got on the podcast
Yes.
was a crazy day for me. I was like a collector of GMC Envoys. It was like my first car. I had an 04 Envoy, and then my second car was an 05. And that day, I was driving home to go to do the podcast, and a rod slipped in my engine, and my car just like blew up, basically.
Oh my gosh.
So I just got out of the car and I called my dad and I was like, "Hey, my engine I'm broke down," and I'm like, I was probably like 4 or 5 blocks from my house, so I just hoofed it home. So when we got on, the first 5 seconds or 10 seconds of that podcast, I'm like,
Just
"Hey
out
guys, just happy to be here." I left my car in the middle of the street.
Oh
and
my
just took off.
gosh! You're like, I have to make this podcast.
Yeah, it was very important.
Well, thanks for the dedication to the Whiskey Riff
Oh,
Raff
of course.
podcast.
Anytime.
Everything was fine today, right? Getting here. So
Yeah, it
no-
was a
no
breeze
issues.
today.
Okay, good.
Perfect.
And I have a lot better truck. And
Yeah.
Nice.
So
Still,
better start.
still same kind of truck.
No, now I drive a Tundra.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but if I could get my hands on an 04 Envoy, I'd be super in.
Happy.
Yeah.
And then we invited you to come back on the podcast in 2023,
Mm-hmm.
which was going to be a surprise to you because that's when Cleto was also on and invited you to your Grand Ole Opry debut.
Correct. Yeah.
So that was another big one. And then at your Grand Ole Opry debut, Jamie Johnson walks in while I'm interviewing you and surprised us both. And I think I got the whole thing on video of him just walking in and giving Colby a little pep talk before.
Yes.
Definitely a cool moment.
Mhm.
Well, that one was interesting too because Jamie, we were doing our interview just
Mm-hmm.
like this, kind of, and someone's knocking on the door. I'm like, 1 second, we're doing this thing, and it's like the
That's-
door opens. It's Jamie Johnson.
The last person I would have
felt like a
expected.
dumbass.
Just like just a little starstruck, wasn't expecting it,
Oh.
and yeah, it was really cool. I mean, he didn't acknowledge me, not that he needed to, but I was just like, oh wow, so this is happening.
But what I'm hearing though is that exciting things are destined to happen whenever you're on the Whiskey Riff Raff podcast, or
Correct.
in association with Whiskey Riff in any way. So I don't think we have any surprises planned.
Not
today,
today.
right? Okay.
Not today.
Right.
None of
can't
these
roll-
were planned.
But we
Yeah,
can't
that's
roll
so
anything
true.
out. We can't roll anything out. So
Yeah,
that's
none
a
of
good
them were
thing.
ever planned.
And then one other thing that I don't think this wasn't like a lucky thing or anything, but I saw you open up for Flatland at the Ryman, and I saw you sing American Sun, which was right after your dad had passed.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a week after my stepdad had passed.
That's right.
So
Yes.
it was just like another thing. And then we're both Green Bay Packers fans.
Yeah, go
so
Pack Go,
We
always.
just always have a lot to talk about.
Yes, and that jacket, I already said it, but
Thank you. Yeah,
incredible.
I had to
Yeah.
wear it.
Intentional
10.
selection, I would
Yes,
assume. Yeah.
definitely.
I'm
And it's
a-
cold outside.
I'm a
but-
Minnesota Vikings fan, so I'll just stay out of the
Oh my
sports conversation.
Goodness, I can't talk about it.
But
I
one of a Minnesota Vikings fan who doesn't mind the Packers, which is pretty rare. So
I never minded the Vikings until this year,
oh no. Okay. Well, maybe we'll get into that.
or the Lions for that
And yeah,
matter.
the Lions
God.
never cared about until
Yeah.
this year.
I don't know. I mean,
get-
I'm happy for the NFC North.
Yeah.
It's finally strong. And I will even say to all those Bears fans out there, the Bears are better than you think.
hmm
What's funny is Stephen West, one's a Vikings fan and one's a Bears fan. So
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
all
The
NFC
Bears
North.
are in a lot better shape than they think.
Mm-hmm.
I
And
think
you
so
could
too.
be a Giants fan
Yes.
or
yeah.
a Jets fan.
Could be in a lot worse shape.
Jets
That's for
would be
sure.
worse.
Exactly.
All right, let's dive into some music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had read that you'd previously said your exposure to good songwriting at a young age is what made you value songwriting so much. Was that something that you like set out to make happen, or was it something that you kind of noticed retroactively when you looked back?
Well, I think I was lucky in the fact that I was, because I mean, when you're a kid, you just an environment, whatever is being played.
Mhm.
Like, at some point in your life, you only know nursery rhymes.
Yeah.
Like those are your favorite songs.
Mhm.
So for me, I think it was just a lot of like my parents liked good music, and they were playing a lot of good music around me, and so yeah, like I mean, when you're exposed to Willie and Waylon and like Flat and Scruggs bluegrass and I mean, even like, from my mom, she would play a lot of like Elton John and the Eagles and stuff, really great songwriting. When you're exposed to that at like 6 years old, that's what the expectation is. So
Yeah.
for me, at least, whenever I listen to a song.
Well, you can tell. Like, anytime that I listen to any of your music, I can tell that the lyrics are really driving what you're doing. And so I mean that because I'm jealous, like, of songwriters. I think I'm a writer, but not a songwriter. So I know that each song can almost be like its own little puzzle that you have to figure out how to put it together.
Yeah, I mean, it'll drive you insane.
Mm.
Like, so I go through these weird songwriting spurts. And some guys, I mean, like the songwriters, they can just write and write and write, and it's just like second nature. And I'm not like that. I mean, I'll write, like, okay, the last 3 weeks, I've written 16 songs in probably the last 21, 25 days.
Wow.
Like,
Okay.
I've been
That's
in
a
a
lot.
mode.
Yeah.
I've been writing 2 a day, 3 a day sometimes. I've been in the rooms. I've been doing the thing. The prior 5 months to that, I was in gridlock. I had no idea what I was doing.
Interesting.
And it's like, it drives you nuts because every time I picked up the guitar, I hated what I was playing. And it could have been I could have a great melody that I really thought was great and could not come up with a single word. So
Mhm.
it just drives me crazy, honestly. It's just.
Do you ever go on those writer retreats with people?
I just did my very first one, and we did a duck hunt in Arkansas, and then also did like some writing.
Mm-hmm.
We wrote like 2.5 songs and shot a bunch of ducks, so it was super fun. Right up my alley.
Whenever I think of ducks or birds, I think of the Bird Dog song.
Oh, Boy and Bird Dog.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
we did a
every
little
time.
songwriters round because we were lucky enough to have the Grove Hunting Club kind of host us
Mhm.
for this duck hunt. And so we did like a writers round. Me, Ben Roberts, and Mark Chandler were the ones down there and did a little round for all the members down there. I played Boy and a Bird Dog down there. It was
Perfect.
quite the
Mhm.
hit for,
Yeah.
for them. Yeah.
Nice
No.
setting for something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I know back in August you released American Sun. One thing that really stood out to me whenever I listened to that, I'm the type of person that likes to listen to an album front to back. Now I don't know, some artists might not feel like that's how people are consuming music still nowadays, but I still try to give the artist the time that they deserve, because I know it takes a ton of time for an artist like yourself to put together an album. So a lot of the times it's just 1 or 2 songs maybe that people listen to, right? I don't know why I'm making this about myself, but
No,
I like to
you.
listen to
I'm the
it
same
all the
way.
way through and just see what songs stand out to me. And one thing that stood out to me about American Sun is, maybe I don't know if it was done intentionally, I guess that's my question, is the juxtaposition of that first song Nightmare and the last song American Sun. There's a lot of energy with Nightmare, a little bit more somber tone with American Sun. Is that something that you like set out to do, or is that just kind of how the album works itself into what it is?
So, I mean, unfortunately, I feel like this is going to be a little bit of a lackluster answer. But for that specific album, when I wrote American Sun, I was like, well, I don't know where this is going to be in that track list, but this is definitely the title.
Mhm.
So I wrote it, and then I was like, I just don't think that the first song on a record should be necessarily slow. I've always liked, whether it's a live show or whatever, I've always liked to have come out strong in the beginning. So I don't know. I wrote that song though, and I was like, I just want it to be me acoustic. It was the last song I got to play for my dad, like just sitting down and played it for him. And I knew that that's what I wanted it to be, because to me that's what the record was.
Mhm.
And also I will say, you should make it about you. That's why we make the records. We make them for the listener. And I'm an album artist. I always have been. I mean, singles are singles are the business, right? But albums are, I mean, I make a record every year for me, so I can go back and look and be like, oh yeah, this was the catalyst of that year that I did. And it's like I can always remember how I felt when I wrote those songs and whatnot. But ultimately, I put them out for people to listen to. And, you know, it is for the listener to hopefully kind of feel a similar way that, you know, if you can find something in those songs, then I did my job.
Yeah.
So.
And talking about the energy at the beginning of like an album, you also begin your show with, last time I saw you was Welcome to Tom's.
Yeah.
Do you still open the show with that? Or have
We
you switched
do,
it up?
yeah. This year we got, I mean, the last 2 years touring, I mean, we've been grinding for sure. And Tom's has been a great opener for us. This year we have, we have 4 different sets.
Okay.
So it's kind of a new thing that we've done. I mean, we've put songs in, but we usually have like a standard set. But this year we're going to switch it up. I mean, we got 66 songs, so it's hard to pick, you know. And we normally do like a 2-hour live show for our headline stuff.
Yeah.
And so I think this year we're going to try and maybe get that to a 90-minute, and then we'll have 4 different sets.
Okay.
And go from there.
I still have yet to see an actual Colby Acuff show.
You gotta
I've
come.
only seen
It's
you
good.
open or at festivals.
I mean,
so
and it's good too. I mean, like,
yeah.
I will say we've been really lucky that whenever we're opening or whenever we're on a festival, they've always been great bills. So, I mean, you know,
Yeah.
it's always a good place to go.
And your new record, I've seen a lot on Twitter about you talking about it and it being a concept record. Do you have any ideas of what the themes going on are?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I'd love to talk about it. So, yeah, definitely for anybody who's wondering, definitely new music. Nothing has changed. It'll be a new record. Our 6th album will come out sometime this year. And I think as of right now, I'm recording it in March. So
Nice. Soon.
Yeah, soon. And it'll come out soon after we get done with it. But yeah, I think, you know, kind of what I've been calling it is American Sun. That is a representation of a very hard year for me. And a lot of the songs are pretty brutal. And there's a lot of like sharp edges on that record. And I think I got a little lost in the brutality is kind of what I've been calling it. And something my producer told me, he was like, remember when you used to write like funny stuff? Because I do have a lot of like funny, quirky songs, you know. And I was like, yeah, I do kind of remember what that was like, you know. And he's like, oh, right, some of that. And so, well, then also, actually, I'm going to backtrack now. Here we go. How we kind of got to it was there was the concept of, hey, why don't we go ask people what they want to listen to? Because I feel like a lot of people are sitting in a room trying to guess what everybody wants or like how people are feeling, but it's very rare that people go out and actually talk to the fan or the consumer and see what they want. So we went out and did 30 interviews, and we had like a list of questions, and we just recorded it all on a tape recorder. So there's no like video. We didn't have like a camera in their face, because some people, you know, that don't react well to that stuff. And yeah, we just asked them, you know, questions about them, a little bit about music, and tried to get some stories that then we could turn into songs and then have like this concept record that is truly like for people that we talk to.
How'd you pick the 30 people to interview?
I mean, just like walking down the street,
Really?
just walk into a church, walk into a bar, walk into a restaurant, whatever. I mean, and we met some amazing people, and it felt really good to talk to people actually, and you know, feel out what they think. And so then out of that kind of came to like, hey, remember when you used to write fun songs and blah blah. So kind of what we're going for on this one is a celebration of people and life, and kind of the, you know, there'll be your classic Colby Acuff sad songs in there, but we're trying to go for something that's a little bit more like uplifting for people too.
Exciting.
Yeah.
And were you the one going around with the tape recorder and asking people these questions?
Me and my producer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anybody like say, oh my gosh, it's Colby Acuff?
No, that's the best part. That's the best part, dude. Nobody knew. I mean,
Did you ever explain like, hey, I'm a country music artist, this is what I'm doing? Or was
Yeah,
it
I mean, we
okay,
told them what it was. In
gotcha.
fact, one of the only people that turned us down was a guy in a record store who owned a record store.
Oh, wow.
Oh, we walked in and we were like, "Hey, man, like we're just interviewing people for this thing," and we didn't even get to the part where we're like, "Oh yeah, we're making an album." He's like, "Nah, not today. I'm
How
not doing it today."
ironic.
Yeah.
I know.
And,
Like,
and disappointing. Like,
well, I mean,
like,
I get it. I mean, I totally get it.
I
you
mean,
know?
anyone could turn you down for like any reason. Like they're busy, or like like if you said at a restaurant, like they're eating, or like something like that. But it's just like that's why country music kind of gets the rep it does for like, oh, labels and oh this. But it's like, what, like that's the perfect example of why people think that.
Well, yeah. I mean, all I've ever wanted, and it's like I think it's my bio, which is kind of cliche, but it's like I write honest songs so I can give them to you.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's all I've ever really wanted to do. And I think what I found through these interviews is that a lot of people, in the best way possible, are exactly the same.
Mm.
Like everyone has their own unique experiences with life, and that is yours. But most of the time, how people feel, like the outcome, the output of life, is generally people want the same things. And, people all are looking to have value of some kind within whatever community that they're in. And they want to feel loved and happy and supported. And, it's what everybody wants. It's not like, and I'm shocked that I was surprised almost. I almost thought that we might find a bunch of sadness.
Yeah.
And that was not even anywhere to be found.
It's like, and they always say like most people are good, and like it's just the bad things that get highlighted. But I feel like you have to like, constantly remind yourself that because of how much the negative stuff is just in your face all the time.
We had no idea what to expect. And what we found was, like, I mean, it was there. It almost became a joke.
Yeah.
Where it was like, okay, this question has 100% the same answer rate.
Yeah.
So like everybody that we would ask, like we had one where it was like, what would you do if you won the lottery? Every single person, very first thing they said was, I buy a house. I buy a house.
That's
I buy
what came to my mind first.
Exactly. I buy a house. I buy a house. And the haves and the have-nots all said I'd buy a house. Because, and then like to me, that just means, wow, are we really to the point where buying a house is winning the lottery? I mean, the odds of you winning the lottery are so low. Is that really where we are? So like those are like the analytical takeaways for then the music, right? Once it's a simple answer, but it creates a great song.
And I would assume, this process that you're going through for this album, it just seems like it would take longer to write songs, or has it actually been easier because it's almost like, okay, we have all this information as inspiration, and now I can just work off of it?
It was harder to switch gears.
Mm-hmm.
But once I switched gears, it was the same thing for American Sun, because the previous record of that was Western White Pines, which I love that record. And that record was about me, where I'm from, kind of my bag, kind of my experience through life. And I was like, man, it's going to be hard to beat that one. It's going to be hard to not write that record again, which I don't want to do ever. And, for that, I kind of had to kill Western White Pines in my brain and go in, and I went down that kind of that darker rabbit hole that I was going through personally, and I decided to share that with everybody, which was really healing for me. So then for this, it's like, well, I got to come back. I got to dig my way out of the rabbit hole a little bit. And so once I switched gears to going back to kind of more of like almost like some of the stuff I wrote in the If I Were the Devil record, like the Start in the Mornings and the quirkier kind of like, not funny, but they're cleverly quippy and celebrating people as individuals, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Are any of the new songs about one person's specific story?
Mm-mm.
Okay, I'm like, that would be crazy to me. It's just like I got interviewed and now there's a song about me that like,
No.
that's just like.
That's a hard thing
Robert
to do.
Jones.
Oh, I'm sure.
That's the hardest way to write. It's way easier, like a Cherokee Rose. We just made that up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually the easiest way to tell like a very specific story song.
Got it.
Is kind of just like, for me at least.
Mm-hmm.
If it's so, I don't ever want to put someone in a position where they share something with me and then it comes out and they're like, come on, man. If it's like too personal.
Yeah.
But it's like general kind of vibes and like energy of people, I guess, and like the weirdest artsy way to say that. But you talk to somebody, for example, maybe they're a little bit younger and they don't really know, they don't have like a ton of life experience, but they're so hopeful, but they're also a little bit scared of the future and stuff. Like that's a whole person, and that's a lot of people that you can write something around, you know? So something to that effect.
And you mentioned that sometimes in songwriting you have to block out certain parts. Is it like a checklist almost? It's like I've already covered this part of my life, or I don't want to share anything else, or is this concept album more just calling for you to be more specific with certain things?
It's kind of more like, and I hate to be this vague with it, but it's kind of just like, is this good or bad? And sometimes I'll write something and be like, God, that is shitty. And it's like, man, that's, you know, that doesn't have... The easiest way for me to describe music is to describe it in like terms of magic. So I love like bar magic, like magicians and shit. So like, here's your card, that stuff. I don't know any magic tricks. So all I want to see is my card. And I just want to see people do card tricks all day. And for us, you know, like artists and songwriters, sometimes we get a little lost like in the trick, in the prestige of the thing. And so that's why, you know, magicians end up like trying to escape out of ice blocks after like 36 hours of being frozen or that kind of stuff. It goes to a place that is so extreme in magic. And most people that watch magic don't want to see someone almost die in an ice block. They just want to see their card.
Yeah.
You know, and so somewhere in between those two things, there's a great prestige and, you know, it can please a lot of people. And that's kind of where I want my songwriting to be in essence.
Can you share any, like, what's the worst song that you ever wrote that comes to mind? Was there anything that like stands out?
The thing is, normally when I write songs that are bad, I don't finish them.
That's fair.
Like I can't, it's just Control-Alt-Delete. Because I have a rule and I call it like burning. So like I don't want to burn a melody and I don't want to burn a good phrase and I don't want to burn a chord progression that's cool. Like, because if I associate it with whatever that is and it's really bad, then I'll never write it again.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, so if I get to that point, I just kind of throw it away.
Are there any keywords that usually come up and you're like, oh, this is not good because of this word? Or
I'm big, like, I mean, I don't know. I would say I'm an artsier artist for sure. But I still like cliches. I mean, I think cliches are there for a reason. And if you can twist a cliche a little bit, then, you know, people usually understand it. So I try to avoid certain things for sure. But I think sayings and metaphors and things like that, I will say that like for this project, I've tried to keep it in the present as much as possible. So like describing someone's day has been kind of like a big thing, like just putting somebody in the moment in that day and trying to describe that situation without, you know, trying to leave that presentness. And that's kind of maybe been a bullet point for me that it's a checklist thing for me on this one, trying to keep that in check.
You mentioned magic. Have you been to House of Cards here in Nashville?
Yes. So I'm a big House of Cards guy.
Really?
And I didn't even know about it. My manager told me about it. And I took my fiance there on a date about a year ago, I'd imagine. Maybe we went there for our anniversary. But man, it's cool. Have you guys been?
I haven't, so.
I only went when I was visiting Nashville, like 2016, but I'm supposed to take my roommate for his birthday like next month, so I'm excited.
You gotta go.
Okay.
Unless you don't like magic, then it's
No, I like magic just as much as the next person, so I think that'd be good.
Okay, so it's super rad. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of a secret thing.
It's
but
below the Johnny Cash Museum.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
And then they have like all this up close magic, and then you go to a show at the end, and they have like 5-star dining and all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's
All
really
right.
cool.
I will look into it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
nice.
it's kind of like
Perfect
a
date night.
yeah.
Okay, perfect.
It's
Valentine's Day coming up.
Suit and tie kind of place.
Gotcha.
Black tie event. But it's awesome.
Yeah.
Super
I'm
nice.
excited.
Shout out House of Cards, I guess.
Yes, go there.
Also, you mentioned the lottery. Do you ever play the lottery?
No, but I do like to gamble. I love sports gambling and craps. Those are my two.
What is your sports bet app of choice?
I use FanDuel.
I use that too.
I had a great year. I crushed. I made money on touchdowns this year, and it was awesome.
There's nothing like crafting an anytime touchdown bet on a Sunday morning. Ugh.
I hit 5 anytime touchdown defense bets
Oh,
Really?
wow.
plus 800.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah,
So-
we had a good year.
Maybe you could start the Colby Acuff Sportsbook.
Yes.
Sounds like you got
Yes.
something going here.
That's as
I'm
soon as I start
waiting for those
losing money.
locks on Sunday mornings. That's the only way I can actually watch games that aren't Packers games. Like,
know.
I need the sports betting just so I actually pay attention. Otherwise, I
Well,
don't care.
yeah, not to mention, I mean, like, what was I in? I was in 2 fantasy leagues, sports betting. But I will say, since the Packers lost, I've been kind of I'm out.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
now, especially with
Same.
the way the Super Bowl is playing out, I am not in.
Who do you want to win? You don't care. That's kind of how I feel too. I guess
Some people
the
aren't
Eagles.
even. I've written a lot about people just being like, I might not even watch the Super
Yeah.
Bowl, and I doubt that. Like I even said that I think at some point it's like I'm probably gonna watch the Super Bowl, but I'm not gonna be locked into the Super Bowl. I don't think.
Well, I had such a good sports year for a little bit, but my Vandals lost, my Dogs lost, Green Bay lost, Mariners never had a shot. It just all went downhill, and then I got sad, and I'm like, I'm done.
One of our writers, Andrew, had this question that we were going to end with, but I feel like it's perfect for now.
Mm-hmm.
Would you rather go to every Packers game and then always lose, or never be able to watch a game but they win like every Super Bowl?
Oh man.
I've never been to a game. Well,
So would I rather
at
be?
Lambeau.
Have you been to Lambeau Field?
Yes.
Okay.
We played Green Bay this last year, and it was awesome.
Yes, I was at that. As I say, I've never been to a Packers game at Lambeau, but I've been to Titans versus
Yeah.
Packers, and that was fun.
Yeah.
A couple
I
years
would-
couple
yeah.
years back, I went to Lambeau for a Vikings game, and it was. I think Kirk Cousins tested positive for COVID, like maybe 3 days before.
I remember this. Yeah.
And so they just got smacked. I mean, it wasn't even close, but I still had the time of my life. So
Good.
don't tell other Minnesota. Well, I guess this is on the podcast. So
Yeah.
it's a little too late for that, but
I would have to root. I'm just thinking of every Jets fan right now, how miserable they are.
Yeah,
I would have to say I would rather them win.
yeah, I think so too.
Mostly, yeah, I think Tucker Kraft would kill me if I said otherwise.
Fair.
and the Vandals, that's Idaho.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's like,
For those that might not know.
yeah, I bleed black and gold.
Yeah.
I honestly had never heard of them until you.
Well,
so.
it's FCS, FCS, but it's out there. Like Idaho doesn't have like a professional team, and I don't even want to talk about Boise State. So,
fair.
so Idaho, and me and my whole band went to the University of Idaho. That's like
Okay.
where we built everything. And my very first record, Life of Rolling Stone, there's a track on there called the Moscow Drinking Team, which ended up becoming like University of Idaho's little anthem, drinking anthem thing. And they played at the games and stuff. So,
Nice.
and I got close with the program and everything. So.
Is there an NIL collective at the University of Idaho? Could you put on some sort of benefit concert for the Vandals on behalf of them?
Yeah, so right now we're putting together a little package I'm donating
Oh wow.
signed guitar, tickets, a flyaway, an autograph photo. I'm donating a bunch of stuff for the scholarship auction that's coming up here soon. And actually, I'm really grateful. This year I won an alumni award. It's called the Bold and the Brave Award at University of Idaho. So I'll be going to that May 8th, accepting that little award there in Moscow. So
We definitely need the details on that. That's
Yeah.
something that Quinn would write about in a heartbeat.
yeah, I mean,
cover
dude, anything that'll help Idaho Vandals, I'm in. I've already, I've always said I've done what I can to raise awareness for the Idaho Vandals
Yes.
because we need it.
I've only been to Idaho. Again, I guess I've been twice, but only for festivals. So I don't actually get to experience Idaho. All I know are potatoes.
Yeah.
And I feel like even that, I've never been to Idaho either, but that's kind of an overblown, like our potatoes aren't a huge deal in Idaho, or is it?
Well, they are, but they're
Okay.
a big deal in southern Idaho.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like,
You're
I mean,
from northern Idaho?
yeah.
is that
So I'm
right?
like from the Panhandle. I grew
Yeah.
up like 2 hours south of the Canadian border.
Okay.
And I mean, I'm pretty close to being Canadian. Like I grew up
I'd believe you.
duck
if you said you were
hunting in
Canadian.
Canada when I was a kid, and I mean, a lot of people are dual citizens up there, and but northern Idaho and southern Idaho is kind of like the difference between like West Virginia and Virginia,
Mhm.
if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
If not, then but it's getting better. Northern Idaho is traditionally like a mill town, like a lumber mill town. It became a tourist town in the last 10 years. And so now it's a night and day from when I was a kid.
And what's something, that people should know about Idaho, minus the potatoes connection that we already covered?
You know, most people would say most people would be like, it sucks, don't go there. Because obviously it's a town, or Idaho is bigger than a lot of states. All those western states are so big. I mean, from tip to tip, it's like a 14-hour drive. It's not just like,
I guess you don't think about that.
Yeah.
no, I mean, side to side,
Yeah.
like
Depends what
especially in the
part.
Panhandle,
Yeah.
it's like a couple hours where I'm from. But the Rockies go through the whole state. The whole state has 2 million people in it. It's a giant small town, and people know about it now, so people are going there. You can't stop that. And the one thing I would say about it is, if you want to move there, if you want to go there, just please pick up your shit. Don't litter. Treat it well, because there's not many states left that have that much national forest, that much public land, that much freedom to go, do whatever you want. Just treat it better than you found it, because it can get out of hand over there.
Yeah, I wonder how that's all going to change over the next 10 years with like Yellowstone kind of blowing up Montana, Wyoming. I feel like that whole area is going to change so much in the next like 10 years.
It's been happening for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's not like, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into it, and it's been happening probably since the 70s, honestly. There's just been a couple. It all is based on the real estate market. If the real estate market's going good, it's growing. But then we've had a couple crashes that stalled that. But like my hometown when I was growing up, Coeur d'Alene was probably 40 to 50,000, and now it's 85, 90.
Okay.
So it's doubled in size.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Is that where you would have been a stockbroker, or you would have been somewhere else?
Oh yeah, no, I mean,
Because I had read that's like
yeah,
that's what you were.
I mean, that was my
initially.
initial job offer, but I had
Yeah.
like my real estate license, and I've worked a lot of jobs, and I was a fly fishing guide for 3 years, and yeah, I've always wanted a hobby to be a career.
Yeah.
I always wanted to do something I
Yeah.
love, and I've been able to make that work always, which is lucky. So.
And of all the careers, maybe besides the country music one, what do you think you would have done the best at? Would you have been a great stockbroker? Would you have been, a world famous fly fishing guide? You think if you stuck with that?
Yeah, I mean, world famous, I don't know, but I was good at my job.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a pretty damn good fly fisherman, and I mean, duck hunting and fly fishing and country music, or I would say more songwriting, are pretty much the only three things that I've ever really been worth a damn at.
Mm-hmm.
And I get obsessive about things, so if it's not the best, then it's not good enough. And those three things, I'm all in on those. So I think if I would have stuck with fly fishing, I would have been great at that. Stockbroking, like I had an econ degree, and I love economics. Economics is kind of a hobby of mine, but
Sports betting.
sports betting,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, analytics, But I just don't think I wouldn't have loved it,
And with songwriting, you've put out an album every year the last 6 years. If you want to produce the best product, are you not going to keep up with that trend if it's not the best? Or is your plan to kind of continue to do one album a year?
If the music suffers, it's not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And I am not a person that would put out something that I didn't love.
Yeah.
Because like once again, it's got to be exactly what I want it to be, in an essence. Now that being said, it doesn't always have to be the most highbrow thing of all time, but it's got to be what it needs to be, more or less. And so yeah, I mean, I hope I can always do that. A lot of it comes down to me writing. This isn't a pride thing or an ego thing. I've never done an outside cut. And of the 66 songs I have out, I've solo written 58 of them.
Oh, wow.
And that's something for me. And once again, it's a catalyst of my year. So it's kind of like that's the therapy that I need. And I write that, and then that I can share it with people, and if they feel the same way, then they connect. And so hopefully that never goes away. Hopefully I always have something to write about. But if I ever get there, then yeah, maybe not.
Last question before we dive into some rapid fire. You mentioned your girlfriend. You have been dating a long time, but I don't feel like you're very open about your relationship on socials or
You
anything.
said fiance, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I wanted to say that, but I wasn't positive that's what
Yeah.
you said. And you had told me that you were going to propose. So I was like, I'm not going to screw that up if you hadn't.
No, I did.
So, okay. So you're engaged.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think a lot of fans would be interested in knowing your love story, how long you guys been together, where you guys met, all the details.
Yeah, it's not that I say this a lot, and it's not that I'm private. It's just that my socials are, they're a tool. It's a business profile, and I know that people, like, I posted about our engagement and stuff, so like I'm not super private about that, but for the most part, like it's a business.
Yeah.
So and we play 100-some shows a year and put out a record. There's a lot of things to post about, but yeah, I'm more than willing to talk about it. We've been together for 7 years. Finally proposed.
Long time.
Yeah. It was
She was
time.
ready.
It was time, yeah. And but we moved 3 times in that, and kind of when I moved down here, she's a teacher and she had a great job up in my hometown. She's from Idaho as well. And kind of was like, hey, if you're going to make a selfish choice like I am right now, this is kind of your time to, I guess, evaluate me and see if it's worth moving. And that's totally up to you. I have to take this. I'm never, this is the opportunity I've been waiting for. And so she was like, that's a no-brainer. I'll move down because you're awesome. No, but she decided that it was, I was worth, the time. And so she came down, and in my brain, I was like, if she moves, obviously we're getting married. And she's been with me. We got together end of my junior year at college, and we've lived together ever since, pretty much. I mean, it's been 7 years of, being together. She was with me when I was a broke trout bum, and when I got a record deal, and through everything. So, I owe her a lot.
That's the best. And Quinn just got married this last year. Do you have any
Congrats.
advice for Colby?
I'm in no place to give marriage advice. I've been married since September of 24, so
It's longer than me.
just say yes, honey.
Yeah,
That's what I've been.
pretty good at
That's
that.
what I've been told, and I've continued to do that. It works out pretty good.
Yeah, she's great because, I think she grounds me really well, and I spin and spiral pretty easy as far as just like jumping down these rabbit holes that I get into. And she's supportive, but she also knows when to tell me to pay attention and like, hey, you're losing track of whatever the hell you think you're doing. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah.
That's nice. And like, I feel like I love watching like NFL players too. Like when their spouses have been with them since school, it's just fun to watch the evolution.
Well, I was, probably prime suspect for somebody who my friends probably never thought I would have a girlfriend or be married. And then once I got locked in,
That's it.
that's all I've done.
Yeah.
So
Fair. All right, let's dive into some rapid fire. First one is, what are your 2025 predictions
for me,
for anything?
oh boy. Oh God, 2025.
Sports betting wise, Chiefs Super Bowl, probably just lock that in. Seems like that's where everything's heading, but I don't want to make that bet, but it seems like that's the bet to make. Just
I think it's a Raff Super Bowl.
Yeah. Whoa.
Bills got robbed. Anyway,
I
so I would say, 2025 predictions. Let's go with, I'm going to put out a record. That's 100%.
Okay.
Packers are going to win the Super Bowl next year for sure. Especially if we get a receiving core. I'm going to go with... Man, this is a tough one.
Those are 2 good ones.
I don't want any big lofty ones,
I don't know. I kind of like when they big lofty ones. What we're doing is we're asking every artist this, and then we're all going to compile all their 2025 predictions.
Gotcha.
So...
Well, I would say then, I'm going to put out a record. Packers are going to win the Super Bowl. in 2026, but they're going to win out
Sure,
the
yeah.
2025 season. Mariners are going to go to hell with it. Mariners are going to the World Series. The Vandals are going to win the FCS championship here in Nashville is where it's going to
Yeah.
be played. And I think I'm going to have a hell of a year. I'm excited about it.
Awesome.
What song do you have on repeat right now?
This is going to sound really weird. Right now, I've been listening to a lot of Counting Crows. And I've been listening a lot to Accidentally in Love from the Shrek 2 soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
Great song.
That song rips. But like
Shrek 2 in general rips
Yeah,
as well,
Miss-
just to put that out there.
Yeah, Mr. Jones,
Mm-hmm.
the Accidentally in Love song. I mean, I don't know. I've just been listening to a lot of Counting Crows lately.
Was it because you watched Shrek 2? Or
No, it was because we were at rehearsals for a tour, and I just broke into Accidentally in Love, and we played it as a band. And then I was like, dude, that song is so good.
That is so good.
So then I listened to that, and then I was like, dude, Counting Crows are awesome. And it reminded me of my childhood, so I started listening to them.
I only ever listen to them when they come on shuffle, but I love them.
Yeah.
So you already mentioned fly fishing and duck hunting, but is there anything else besides that in country music that you're oddly obsessed with?
Oh, I mean, for sure, another thing about me, like, I'm a guy's guy to a T, almost like kind of, to a fault. But I love, like, just dudes being dudes songs. Like, for example, something like a Luke Combs, like When It Rains It Pours. Like, that song is just that guy. It's just Luke being a dude, like, describing dude things. So kind of anything that's, like, kind of in that dude core vibe is cool
Fair.
for me.
your go-to hangover cure?
Oh, God. I have a lot of them. My number one hangover cure is don't drink. But I will say, if I do, it's going to be vitamins, 100% over and over. That's made the biggest difference, especially since I turned 28. That was a totally different kettle of fish as well. But it's like D3, K2, it's electrolytes, it's magnesium, and I mean, just anything I can get my hand on.
Name something that's overrated.
The Vikings.
Dang it. Okay. Well, I'll accept that. Name something that's underrated.
I think as of recently, I'm a big ketchup fan. I'm going to go with ketchup. I think ketchup is vastly underrated. And also, another thing for being overrated, Nashville hot chicken.
Oh.
I
Okay.
kind of agree on that one too.
I'm not a
And I
fan.
agree with ketchup. I'm obsessed with ketchup. I have multiple drunk videos of me. You know those like Costco sized ketchup things? I'm known to put my mouth under those
Oh,
once
gotcha.
or twice drunk.
Yeah,
I love ketchup.
I was a ketchup kid, and like I'm a hot sauce guy too. But the hot sauce phase is big right now, and the Nashville hot chicken thing is cool. But when I'm playing in Iowa and like any place I go now has a Nashville hot chicken sandwich, and it's just cayenne, guys. It's not like it's very dimensional.
Cocktail sauce? Big fan
I
of
like
that?
cocktail sauce.
Underrated condiment.
There's a big debate back home,
Uh-oh.
especially in the band, because we're from all over the state. So there's these things called steak fingers or finger steaks, depending on where you're from, and they're just breaded pieces of steak and they're fried.
I'd probably like this.
They're really good. But in that debate in Idaho, some people think you serve it with cocktail sauce. And then we have this whole other thing over there called fry sauce, which is a massive deal, which is just mayonnaise and ketchup together.
Okay.
But we call it fry sauce. And so do you serve it with fry sauce or cocktail sauce?
What's your pick?
Fry sauce. But
Okay.
I do like cocktail sauce.
Okay.
All right. Do you have any embarrassing onstage moments?
Many. Trying to think of one that's a real zinger. We had one recently where it was our very first show of this year, opening for Muscadine in Columbus. And we had a banjo feedback, super hardcore, in the beginning of When I See You Again, which is like a very somber song.
Yeah.
And so it was like, I just started singing. It was like,
And you're like,
I had to restart. But that really isn't like so embarrassing for me. I've had a couple times where I've probably been a little. I've been drunk on stage before where it's like, oh, probably shouldn't have said that or done this or whatever.
I mean, we haven't seen anything. Otherwise, we probably would have wrote about
I know it's been. I've kept it pretty low key.
Yeah.
I've been good. Try to keep it professional.
It's fair.
Well, I'll ask a very unprofessional question next. Then.
Perfect.
What is the largest animal you could take 1v1 in a fight?
Okay, I like this question a lot.
Yeah.
Mostly because I have a very similar question.
Okay.
I would say the biggest animal that I could take on 1v1 with 100% certainty that I would win
Yep.
is a dog.
Okay.
One dog.
Any size dog?
I
Like
mean,
Great Dane?
Untrained too, right? Because I mean, you see these videos of dogs, you know.
Yeah, it's got to be wilder than hell, right?
I
It's
was
gotta be
just in
feral.
Mexico. Wild dogs everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, sure, because and the biggest dog is still going to be like maybe up to my body weight, maybe pound for pound. I mean, they're going to be way stronger. Up to 100-pound dog, 100%. Down from there, I don't know. But I usually have this question for people because we have a huge problem back home with moose. And moose are like the North Idaho hippopotamus. They kill a lot of people, and they're huge, you know. And so I always ask people like, how many? You have no weapons, right? It's just how many people in hand-to-hand combat do you think it would take to take down a moose?
I was thinking, envisioning that they would be similar to be taken down like a ATT, I think, from Star Wars,
Yeah.
where like you kind of have to work together to get the legs at first. But I don't think one person per leg would be enough.
No.
Really?
I always say 30
Yeah,
What?
because probably in the first like
2 or 3 are going down.
off
Yeah,
the bat.
yeah,
when it
antlers.
starts,
Yep.
it's going to be heinous.
We're on the same
And-
page here. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna say probably
If it was
20,
like
20 people.
Because if it was like,
I don't understand how large a moose is then. I was
I
not.
mean, their legs to their legs are about 7 feet.
yeah,
Okay, yeah, I had no idea.
They're huge.
I heard they were huge. I just never
Oh, and
envisioned that
I mean,
big.
I've had a lot of close calls with moose. They're very scary.
Oh.
And but yeah, like if someone came to me and said, "Okay, how many people do you want for this?" Not this. If it was real, I'd be like at least 30, because that's 100%.
it's a good answer.
Yeah.
It's a very
'cause
strange question. but
Before,
yeah.
No,
but,
it's
well,
good.
before I knew how big they were, I was gonna say like 4, but definitely not now.
No, you need more than 4.
I was thinking 1 per leg. Okay, last question. What is your ideal dive bar meal? So you pick 1 shot, 1 beer, and 1 bar food.
Okay, yeah, that's easy. Miller Lite for the beer. The shot is going to be a tequila, not gold. It's got to be some
Silver.
kind of clear tequila. And then the bar food, I mean, it's pretty hard to beat like a bologna sandwich or a burger. Pretty in on that. Or wings. God, I love wings.
Got to pick 1.
I know. Fine, I'll go wings because I feel like that's the
Good
move.
bar food.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, that's it. We're looking forward to some new music this year.
Me too.
Definitely, yeah. And if you're ever in a moose fight, just call me.
You'll be one of my 30.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
And go Pack Go.
Go Pack Go, as always.